Going to question 17 now. You want to start with the prompt whenever possible. And here, the prompt is merely letting us know that this is a grammar question. So we're reading this for grammar. This novel, a fictionalized account of the lives of the Mirabal sisters, can serve as a starting point for those wanting to explore how the rule of this dictator has been represented in literature. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on grammatically here. And you need a little bit of grammar background. So a clause is something that has a subject and a verb. An independent clause would be something like John jumped. John is the subject. The subject is who or what is doing the verb, and jumped is obviously the verb. So if you have a subject and a verb, and if it sounds like it finishes, that's an independent clause. A dependent clause has usually a weak conjunction at the front. So instead of saying John jumped, we're saying since John jumped. So the since means that we can't put a period at the end anymore because the since kind of implies that something else needs to be following. So that's what a clause is. It has a subject and a verb. Now, a modifier, on the other hand, is something that's missing the subject, the verb, or both. It's something that's very incomplete. So here, the modifier is while jumping. While jumping, John twisted his ankle. So you can see that every sentence needs one independent clause, and the modifier is one of these extra details. So while jumping, this happened to John. Now we can also have a modifier in the middle of the sentence. John, while jumping, twisted his ankle. So let's call that a middle modifier right there. And at the end, John jumped, twisting his ankle in the process. So now, one thing you need to know about verbs is that ing words and to-do words are not verbs. So this right here is not a verb. So this particular modifier here is missing the verb, and it has no mention of John or he in it. Same thing here. Ing words are not verbs, so there's no subject or verb in here, and there's no subject or verb in here. And so that's what makes something a modifier, missing the subject, the verb, or both. Now coming back to this question, here we're seeing the novel, a fictionalized account of the lives of the Mirabal sisters, can serve as a starting point. So this is the middle modifier. Starting again, we have this novel, which by the way is a fictionalized account of the lives of the sisters, can serve as a starting point for those wanting to explore how the rule of the dictator has been represented in this literature. So once again, this part here is a middle modifier. It's like a timeout in the sentence. In order for it to be a clause, that blue part there would have to say it was a fictionalized account of the sisters. And if it did say that, then it would no longer be able to just randomly be spliced into the middle of a sentence. So here we have a middle modifier, and the answer that makes that work is C. If you have a middle modifier, it can start and end with commas, like it did here, parentheses, or even two long dashes. So the answer for 17 is C.